Hello, I'm EVM and welcome back to the channel. Now, time of day tariffs, where it's cheaper at night than it is during the day. They are key to getting very cheap electricity. I currently pay, or I will be very soon when my tariff expires and goes on to today's rates, less than a third of what the price cap is. Only for 6 hours, and then the other 18 hours are more expensive. But when you've got things that you can use at night, high load appliances, not just dishwashers, tumble dryers and that sort of thing, electric cars, heat pump to do the hot water at night and things like that, you can genuinely save a ton of money, hundreds or even thousands of pounds with a car where you do a lot of miles, as we do. So time of day tariffs, as I said, utterly key to all that. But there is a bit of a downside, which I think people need to just be reminded of. I don't really see much of this about in the home energy sort of YouTube-y social media sector, whatever you want to call it. And that's essentially turning something on when you're asleep or in an unattended house. So even if you've gone to work, something like that. And that is kind of key, isn't it, to time of day tariffs. We turn our appliances on, or some of them, and say, right, I want you to turn on in the middle of the night when it's cheap. I want my car to charge during the night when it's cheap. And that ultimately means that we might be more at risk that if there is a fire, an electrical problem, we're more likely to be upstairs in bed than, I don't know, in the living room or the kitchen, where you can kind of spot something going on or hear it and you've got more time to react. This is not, okay, big fat disclaimer, this is not an advice video on what you should be doing. This is what we do. This is the justification, I guess, of why we do what we do in terms of using that time of day tariff. I want to do this video as a bit of a reminder and just to generate a bit of discussion in the comment section as to what you do. Do you change habits because of this risk or because of the time of day tariff? If you don't have one and you're getting a tariff like that, is that going to change anything? Are you aware of this? Let me know in the comments once you've watched the video, and well, it'll be interesting to know what the people do. So I've got an article here from South Yorkshire Fire Service, Electrical Safety First. So according to national figures, microwaves are the electrical product which caused the most fires. There were almost 5,000 incidents between 2014 and 2019. I presume this is South Yorkshire. So that's over a 5-year period. Microwaves I'm not too worried about because you generally use them when you need them, not on a delayed timer at 3 AM. So I think we can skip that and go on to the other appliances. And of course, I will mention electric cars as well later on. Tumble dryers were the second most risky appliance with 2,661 incidents, followed by washing machines at 2,589, dishwashers at just 1,300, and finally fridge freezers at 1,065. The company says overloading sockets, using wrong chargers, and not checking the wiring on electrical products can all cause fires. And this is what I'm talking about. It's that risk assessment. We all take risks every time we walk out of the house. You know, you don't drive at certain times of day that are safer. You drive when you need to. The fridge freezer, as an example, that's the 5th most risky appliance according to this survey. But I'm pretty sure nobody turns it off at night when they're asleep, just in case. Because realistically, you need it to keep cooling things and freezing things. Just having fresh food every day would be great if it was practical, but in reality, I think most people, all people, would just leave the fridge freezer on, even though it's clearly a risk. Same with gas boilers and that, I guess. I don't know anybody that's got rid of a gas central heating boiler or a hob because of the carbon monoxide poisoning danger. What you do is you try and negate that danger by having an alarm, a carbon monoxide alarm, to warn you if something's gone wrong. And that kind of sums up why we've done what we've done. Tumble dryers. Well, that's easy. We don't have one. We haven't had one for years, even when Alice was a baby. We use the radiators and clothes horses essentially just to dry clothes when we need them. I mean, you could use 4 kilowatt hour of energy on just one cycle on a tumble dryer, a non-heat pump one especially. That's at the price cap, about, what, £1.36 or something like that for a single use of a tumble dryer. £1.36. On the time of day tariff, the one I'm about to go on in the next couple of months, because as I said, it's expiring, that'd be just over 40 pence. That's nearly £1 per use cheaper to run it at night. As I said, it's kind of irrelevant for us because we just don't have one, we don't need one. But you can see why people would choose to do so. If you use that most days, you're looking at a few £100s a year just for that appliance used at the right time. The next one is the washing machine and the dishwasher. We do have both of them. However, we're quite lucky in this respect because we have a 3-storey house. Because the utility room's on the ground floor and we're on the top floor when we're asleep, when we're in bed, we've got an entire floor between us. It's like an extra buffer, if you like. So that, combined with the smoke alarm sensors that we've got throughout the house, and those that they're all linked together. So if one goes off, they all go off. So if there were a fire in the utility room, if let's say the washing machine caught fire for whatever reason, then it would set off the downstairs smoke alarm, which would set the entire house off. We would have plenty of time, relatively speaking, because of course of that extra floor buffer and so forth. So we looked at this sort of arrangement. We were aware of the risks, and we thought, well, in this case, we're getting all this benefit. We've put everything in place to try and negate the risk of something happening, and if it does, we've got the alarms, we've got the extra space and so forth. And of course, I do check the wiring. I'm no electrician, but I know enough to know that if I see a brown plug socket or a frayed or damaged wire, that is checked on I would say I tend to do them every half term. I use the old school time approach, and that's part of my routine now, to check the wiring of all these sort of appliances. You know, just have a look, visual checks, as I say. You can never negate every potential risk. But I think with all these checks, with all these alarms, that's essentially what we've chosen to do in terms of carry on using the time of day tariff. We're not ignoring the problems, we're just aware of them and are trying to do everything to stop them. Like crossing a road. You make sure you know how to do it safely rather than stopping people completely crossing the road at all and not being able to go anywhere. This is the justification for it, and I'm doing it to ask what you do. If you're a time of day person, do you basically go, well, yes, I've stepped up the checks, I've made sure everything's in place. I mean, we all charge our phones at night, and of course, when it comes to charging something at night, the car, that's the big one. Up to 7 kilowatt my charger can do, which is pretty common and standard across the UK housing. That, as I said, almost exclusively charges at night. The only thing I would say to that, in terms of, again, mitigating the risks, it's a proper charger. It's installed by a proper accredited company, and they wouldn't install a charger if the consumer unit, the fuse box in your house, wasn't in a suitable state and so forth. So all that, you know, the charger itself has a lot of built-in safety stuff. The car, if there's ever any weird issue with the electrics, it just stops charging immediately. There's all this in place to make sure things like that go without any safety issues. The one thing that I would definitely recommend, even as a non-expert in this field, because I've just seen it too many times over the 8 years I've done this channel and driven EVs myself, is using a 3-pin plug socket to charge a car. You can. It's like a get out of jail card for me. Occasionally, if I've had 2 cars, I've used a 3-pin plug socket once or twice, but it's not designed for that kind of high loads, sustainable charging. It will work, it's within its specs, but it's very close to the max specs of a plug socket. You know, it's like boiling a kettle for hours on end. It gets hot, does that plug socket. And again, the amount of people who have messaged me saying, is this normal? Look what's happened. I've been charging off a 3-pin plug socket for 2 years and it's been fine until now. And then there's just a brown charred mess where the plug socket was. So if anybody is out there using a 3-pin plug socket at night, charging all the time, I think for me, that is a bit of a ticking time bomb approach. So yeah, anyway, right, that's it essentially. It's my 2penneth. Time of day tariff is a very good thing, makes things a lot cheaper, but there are a few things that you need to bear in mind in terms of safety aspects. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? If somebody comes up with a very good idea of why I shouldn't be doing something like nighttime charging or nighttime whatever using, then please let me know in the comments and let's pool our resources, our knowledge, and see where we end up. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.